What's up, dudes and dudettes of the internet? My name's Scythe and we are back again for another quick Trove tutorial. What this is going to be covering is what lots of you have been asking me a long time ago, how to actually get the game to run as optimally as possible. And I'm gonna go through some of the video effects that I turn off in the options and what they end up actually doing to the game, etc, etc. It's gonna be a little bit of a boring video, but hopefully it will give you better info to how you can actually get this game to be playable. Now, one of the biggest things that I do want to say right off the bat is that Trove is very unoptimized. It takes a stronger computer than a potato to actually run this game at a steady frame rate, mostly due to the video effects. You can even see with these rejuvenation stations, there's actually like so many different layered video effects inside these things that cause lag, and one after another, so on and so forth, and there's just so many different things that add up, especially with the video effects and props and stuff like that. This is why usually if you'll go into a club world that is really prop heavy, you'll end up having some big frame rate issues. Sometimes I've actually seen people that make an entire cornerstone out of rejuvenation stations, and those even lag me out. But I just wanted to give you that, let you all know about that. There's a couple other quick tricks that you can do for video settings, but for the most part, this is my settings. Draw distance, of course, makes a difference. Brightness is just gonna be brightening your screen. Gamma is just a different type of setting that brightens your screen in a different way. Draw distance, I personally find very important, just for my own sake. Super sampling is pretty much like the jaggies that you see around the edges of different objects and stuff like that. And overall, just different quality of stuff. Then there's the shader details, self-explanatory. It's got to do with shadows. Field of view only affects like how much is actually on your screen at a time. While it can make a difference to frame rate, because the more that you see on your screen means that it's gonna have to take a little bit more processing power out of your computer. Field of view shouldn't make that much of a difference. The detailed distance is how detailed objects are in the distance. And then as for all of these options right down here, the lens distortion is kind of handy. I don't really think I can give a proper example of it. However, it pretty much like the way that Trove works right now with field of view is think of looking through a bubble. You're inside the bubble and you're looking through half of it. It's kind of like a dome in front of you. And your character is in the middle of the screen, so he's actually furthest from the camera, while the left and right sides of the camera are closer to you. Now, what lens distortion does is it reverses that bubble effect so that your character in the middle of the screen is actually closer to you, and things slowly, gradually get further and further away from your field of view as it gets further to the edge of the screen. SSAO is very useless and very resource heavy. What it essentially does is you'll see like just right here, for example, there will be a little bit of a shading difference between these two blocks. And generally speaking, I personally like, mostly I think it's because I'm a beta player and stuff like that. I'm not used to actually seeing that shadow line between the blocks, that I personally don't like it. I find it to be a little bit uglier, and you can see there's a little bit of shading between all the blocks anyways, so it doesn't really make that much of a difference. And then there's depth of field. Depth of field can increase performance because what it does is it blurs things in the background. It's not gonna like make it super high performance or anything like that, but it may end up affecting you a little bit if you have trouble with higher draw distances and stuff like that. What bloom does is it pretty much just does bloom. It makes it so that if the sun is out, you're gonna have a little bit of visual bloom, let's call it, light kind of coming on to other settings. So for example, if we had bloom right now, there might be a little bit of this blue or a little bit of the white kind of cascading on top of the Valor Warrior's house right there, right? Then there is also Vsync, which is important for the game's stability. Honestly, you're gonna have to test that one for yourself, because Vsync can, in most instances, completely break someone's game. But in my instance, I have a very rare instance, which I think might be related to my NVIDIA graphics card, where having vertical sync on actually makes the game run smoother than having it off. Now, granted, that could be what's responsible for a lot of the crashes in the game, because vertical sync can end up being quite taxing during certain moments of the game. I'm pretty sure, I'm not exactly learned on what vertical sync does, but I'm pretty sure it makes it so that normally when you like look all over the screen and stuff like that, there will be a little bit of cutting going on with your screen. That's just because of how monitors and everything like that works out. What vertical sync does is it kind of syncs both of those screens together so that you have a smoother feel on your screen. And anti-aliasing, that one is even more specific towards, like, you know, if we didn't have anti-aliasing on, the edge of this might be a little bit more jagged, a little bit more pixelated and stuff like that. And funny to think, I actually learned all of this stuff from playing Half-Life years ago. And now, as far as the little tips that you can do to increase game performance, you can always type /retro mode, type it again to turn it off. What this does is it makes everything kind of pixelated and kind of cartoonish. This was actually an April Fool's joke that everybody liked so much that they kept it in the game. I still would love to see this effect without the pixelation. I think it would be beautiful. Seriously, try checking out some wings and video effects while you actually have this on, because it looks really, really cool. And this can increase your frame rate performance exponentially because of the fact that it's lowering the quality of everything by quite a bit. Type it again to turn it back off. Then, one of the biggest ones, and this is something that I would recommend if you go into Shadow Towers and stuff like that, especially because of all the different video effects going on with all the different classes, is you type /FX enable, one word, space 0. And what that does is it turns off all of the video effects that are all around you. Now, this does come with some problems because you're not going to be able to see like certain portals and stuff like that. Even if we go over to the Uber portal right here, you can't actually see the U1 or U6 in this case. That's normally circling around it. And in general, it's not really recommended to play the game like this, but it can increase the performance like crazy. And not to mention, if you're going in Ultra Shadow Towers and Hard Shadow Towers even, it'll make it a lot easier to see what's going on because the video effects in this game are off the hook crazy, while not necessarily being like they go nuts for the sake of making it look pretty rather than making it functional, you know. And then you always just type /FX enable 1 to turn it all back on, and that's pretty much it, everybody. That exceeds my knowledge for how you can increase your performance. Again, if you're building a club world or something like that, or even a cornerstone, watch the prop items, especially the ones that have video effects. You shouldn't have too much problems if you have like a whole house made out of trading posts, but you might end up running into a bit of an issue because I've seen some people's houses that are made out of the log prop, and way back in the day, back when I had a bad computer, it would actually drain my frame rate quite a bit. And of course, the rejuvenation stations are just monsters and portals and stuff like that. Anything that has multiple layers of video effects are going to give you a little trouble. So you want to avoid all of those as much as possible. But needless to say, I have a God computer. That's why I can run Trove as smoothly as I do. I need this computer because YouTube is my career. I don't think I could recommend anybody to buy a God computer just for Trove. But either way, thanks for watching, everybody. I very much appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you found it helpful. And if you did, don't forget to Hadouken the like button, share favorite, and subscribe to join Team Pixel. Sign on. Stay epic, everybody.